Welcome to Movie Lounge. I'm your host, Stephen Wasson, and thank you for joining us on this episode. And today's going to be a very interesting topic because it is dealing with culture and race in Hollywood. And it's not a fun topic per se, but it's a little bit more easy to talk about rather than the other elephant in the room, which is the whole gay community pushed into Hollywood and all that stuff. But we're not going to get into that topic because I feel like that's a much bigger conversation to have. So we're going to stick with race and culture, and I'm going to be as blunt and as open as I can about this because I feel like it's become kind of like a fad almost. Here, it's been known to have either female lead roles or different race in movies. And for example, with the Iron Fist, everyone got mad because there was no Asian martial art actor in that movie or in that TV show on Netflix. And to me, that doesn't really need to be upset about because in the comics it's a white male. That's what it is. And I'm all for putting in people of different race, different color in movies, put females in different things, lead. It doesn't matter. I'm fine with that. I'm very open to that. If I made a movie and it was a spy movie, I'm going to lean more towards the guy as a lead just because of how I've seen spy movies. But I'm very open if it's certain actresses who can portray that role. I feel that if you want to change the race of someone or change it to a female lead, you have to look at what they've done in the past in films. If they've done similar things like what they're going to do in this movie, if they've done really well, then it's going to be much easier to work with. It's nothing about pleasing per se as more of, is this going to work for the audience? Is this going to be more believable? So when we go see a movie, we're supposed to separate reality with imagination. When I go see a movie, I'm not really looking for the actor. I'm just looking to forget everything going on in reality and just enjoy up to 2 hours or 3 hours or however long the movie is. Enjoy the movie. And I've always had, and I've told my wife this, I've always had a problem with women being the lead because I feel like they're just trying to please the audience with the female. And trust me, women, I have no problem. I'm just going to say that right now because I know probably people are going to be like, oh, you hate women. No. For example, when I went to see Star Wars The Force Awakens and they had Rey, female lead, I thought it worked. I was perfectly okay with it because it was very believable. I thought she could do it. Or like with Ripley and the Aliens. Perfect. I don't think a guy could have done any better. It all comes down to, and I feel like Hollywood has separated itself from this, is instead of looking at the actor or the actress and what they can do in that role, and is it fitting for them, and if they can do it, go for it. They want to please the audience. And I feel like that hurts them a lot. When you're just making a movie to please the audience, it's not going to work as well. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it's a home run and it works really well. And I feel like Hollywood needs to kind of understand that we're not here to please one specific person. We're here to allow people to embrace imagination. That's what movie watching is. It's allowing us to be more embracive of our imagination. Because as we get older and we become adults, we kind of just step away from our imagination and step away from playing in the dirt or playing Cowboys and Indians or whatever it is that we played as kids. And I feel for me, like I try to keep my imagination. I try to keep my dream going like, ooh, I would love to do this, I would love to do that, but at the same time, like I have to go do other things. So I feel like Hollywood is becoming more of a political standpoint, and that's fine. It's totally fine. It's what is cool about movies is you're allowed to express your opinion on certain things, but I just feel like it's Hollywood is pushing way too much of doing things. Like for another example, you have the Expendables, all men. The last one had Ronda Rousey, terrible actress, horrible actress, but an amazing fighter. I put her in a movie where she's like a hitman, a hit woman. I would put her in that and let her do that because she has the physique, she has the body build to do kind of like what fighting, like how men do in fighting and stuff. But her in the movie, I kind of got pushed away a little bit because I felt like her acting wasn't there. She was just reading off a piece of paper or reading off a teleprompter, and I just felt like, okay, this is just weird. It's not working. And then, but now they're planning on making a Expendables for women, and I feel like they're pushing too hard because, oh, we saw the guys do this certain movie, like The Hangover, and now there was the I didn't see the movie, but it was kind of the same similarities, and it tanked. There's some things in movies like The Hangover or Expendables, or there's these for guys that it doesn't really fit well when you try to do an all women's cast, which is fine, but it's like you're trying too hard to please one audience and it doesn't work, it backfires. And I feel like that it's hard. The cool thing is with Marvel, and I'm trying to think of other like movies, like, oh man, I'm blanking out on it. There's like Marvel does a really good job at trying to get women to go see their movies, and they do a really good job at balancing it out. Would I love to see a Black Widow movie? Oh yes, I would love to see it because Black Widow is awesome. She's a cool spy, and like there's some studios that do a really good job at tying everything in to give different people different their own scene and like give them their own time. And I know like one person asked me why don't they make a white male Scarface, for example, and I said that all depends on what you're looking at. And they're remaking Scarface again, going to be in Los Angeles. It's going to be I think it's, as far as I know, it's going to be Latino. And that works. And I tell people, you're going to make the movie, whatever the story is, the background needs to fit really well. So if you have it, Scarface in Los Angeles isn't, and then he's a white male, it's not going to work as well if it's going to be like a Latino or in that Spanish culture, because of how Los Angeles is. It's very diverse, and it's very diverse in the sense of different cultures go on. So it makes more sense to have Latino. The same way Scarface with Al Pacino, even though he's a white male, he portrayed that character really well. And I'm thinking of it, I just blank. Oh, Rogue One, that's another one. That had very diverse, different cultures going on, and they had my two favorite characters out of that. Guys, love what they did. They brought the humor and they brought the character development to life, and I felt very connected. So when spoiler alert, when they died in the movie, I felt sad because I was like, I enjoyed those characters so much, and it mostly does come down to what the story is and how you put the story together and who the actors you want to play. If they can play those really well, if you made a James Bond and you had a female lead and she could play it really well, then go with it. I think that's what it comes down to comes down to what the actor's background is in film, and not what their gender is of female, what their race background is. It's all about how can they portray the story better. And I feel like Hollywood has kind of went down this whole path of we need to do everything to please this one side, forget about this other side, and it doesn't work. It's not, because it's a very biased situation, and I feel like that's what the problem is. So that's that whole topic there in a nutshell. Because it's a it's a good conversation, and I enjoy these conversations, and I try to come across as very humble about everything when it comes to this type of conversation. When people want to know, like, why do they do this or about that? So it's a very sticky, it can be sticky situation, but I think if you sit down and have a very adult conversation about this and be respectful for others, you can actually have a good conversation and you can come out with something really cool. So yeah, that is the topic. I know it was a short episode. I try to make it up to 30 minutes long, but I know sometimes it's not going to work. But yeah, this coming week we're gonna have different topics, and if you guys want us to talk about a certain topic, let us know, and we can be very prepared about it, and we can talk about it, and you guys can communicate with us. So you guys have been very great. I'll see you guys tomorrow afternoon.